The arguments object is a special magical local variable available within all functions. It contains the function's parameters and it behaves like an array in that it's indexable like an array and it has a length property like an array, but it's actually not an array, it's an object. Jumping into the example now. The first function that I've defined, arguments type, is here to show that the arguments variable, while it behaves like an array, is actually not an array. So I'm simply returning the type of the arguments variable, which you can see is an object. When I'm invoking my arguments type function, I'm passing in the value a, even though the function doesn't have any arguments, as we've previously discussed. That doesn't cause an error in JavaScript. So then if inside the function we write out the length property of the arguments variable, we're passing in one value, so as expected the length of the arguments is 1, just like what you can do with a JavaScript array. If we then were to output the first item of the arguments object, so indexing into it using the square brackets notation, again the same way that JavaScript arrays work, then we should get the value passed into the function, which is a. In my next example, I have yet another add function, but this time there's no parameters to the method. It's just going to take some variable number of parameters, add them together and return the result. So first thing I want to try is calling the add function with no parameters at all, and you can see within the add method that we're looping through every item within the arguments object. So if we pass in no arguments, we expect there to be nothing in the arguments object, and therefore it should probably just return 0. And that's what it does. Slightly more interesting example, this time just the one argument, 5. So within the add function it declares a total of 0 and then adds all the arguments. So if we add 5 to 0, we're expecting an output of 5. And finally, we can pass in any number of integer arguments and it's just going to loop through and add them all together. So if we pass in 2, 3, 8 and 2, we get 15.